suppose there's no time like the present. Hello YouTube. Cannot believe I'm finally doing this. Like, it feels surreal, but I'm gonna try to get through this. I'm new to all this. I'm probably not gonna do editing because I just don't have time for that. Like, I just don't have time. So I'm gonna try to stay on track and introduce myself here. You'll notice in the title it says "Hello YouNiverse." It's YouNicho, and just to give a little funny haha about myself and how that name came to be. Well, not name, but you know, we'll just tell the story. It'll be easier to tell a story. So back in the day, I used to go into chat rooms and like to stir up a lot of trouble. And I would use AOL, and AOL had assigned me a screen name, which was the last three letters of my first name, and then the first like five letters of my first name, which come together as YOUnicho. By the way, I am Nicole Michelle. Sorry, I'm new here, and so are you, so we're just gonna get through this together. I normally do lives in like a small group or like on my, I have a poetry page. So this is just a different, it's like I'm by myself, but like with myself and seeing myself, and it's all part of the empath journey and recovery. We're gonna get into that, but see, look, I'm already off. It's all right. The whole point of this is to show people you do not have to have your shit together to follow your passion and be you and speak your truth. You know what I mean? You just have to choose to show up. So, yeah. So normally I do those, and I just decided that I needed to try to start sharing my story. And so the YouNicho thing came around because, like I said, I used to go in chat rooms and stir up trouble, and they auto assigned me a screen name. I think I'd gotten in trouble and then like gotten myself out of it, and then like they assigned me a screen name, and it was my first and last name combined together in a way that never even looked to me like YouNicho. But I was in there causing trouble. Came across someone who was like, "Oh, look at your name, like you're a YouNicho," and it was just. I'm not doing the story justice, but it was just once it was said and I looked at it, it's one of those things like you just can't unsee it. Like, oh no. And so I immediately decided to create a new screen name and never use that name again. Because all my troublemaking had backfired in a horrible way, and it's you just can't even. I mean, I could own it, and I'm sure to some degree at that time I did. And this was like way back, guys. Like this is way back before I went through a spiritual awakening, through trying to heal my PTSD. This was like back when I thought that being unkind to people was protecting myself, that was keeping people away from me. I thought that was setting boundaries, and I guess in some ways it was, but also they weren't healthy boundaries, you know. So, and this is all things that I've learned over my journey, my process here. I grew up in a pretty abusive home. There were a lot of bad things that happened that I've experienced. I've gone through a significant amount of trauma, and, you know, spent a lot of time being angry and a lot of time feeling less than and denying myself like a true existence, if I'm being entirely honest. And I want to share my story and try to encourage people to stop trying to follow the same old, because you know it's not true, especially if you're an empath. And I'm going to talk about that too. Like, I don't really know fully what it means to be an empath. I've read and heard and witnessed lots of different things. But I think it is something that, you know, you have a little extra sensory something. And then there's highly sensitive people, which are HSPs. And this is a lot of stuff that I've researched. These are things that I will be talking about a little more in depth as this journey goes. If I can, fingers crossed, if I can stay true to posting regularly. Yeah, so I went through a lot of stuff as a child and into my teens, and I had a lot of anger, and then I would be very verbally abusive because I grew up in a lot of verbal abuse. I grew up in a lot of physical abuse, a lot of mental abuse, like all of it. I grew up in all of it. So, and I only learned about the term empath in 2016, so 4 years ago, was the first time that that word had ever crossed my desk. And when I say my desk, as I'm chatting, um, what I mean is, like, sometimes you'll have like an impulse, like a thought, or you'll be doing something, just your normal daily routine, and then just this crazy like epiphany thing just like rolls through your brain. It's like it just like slides right across, so I kind of have like this in my mind, like a universal desk, I guess. I don't know if that makes sense. Y'all let me know. Y'all let me know if y'all feel any of this. And this is part of the journey, is like it's not just my journey, and I'm far from through it. And as far as I feel I've come, I feel like I still have so far to go. um, so and this is, I just want to bring people in. And I'm not one of those people, like, I'm in some Facebook groups about empaths, and there are some people that will be like, oh, well, if you have to ask questions, if you have to ask if you're an empath, you're not an empath. Well, I don't think that's entirely true, because some of us grow up completely disconnected from, most of us grow up completely disconnected from who we are, who we truly are, to the core of our source. And, just, that's just the way it is. And so for someone to tell somebody what they are or are not is, first of all, in my opinion, not something that someone who should describe themselves as an empath should behave. It's not for us to tell anybody who they are or what their journey is. Everybody has to figure that out for themselves. Everybody has to come to that conclusion on their own of what does their existence mean, what is their purpose. I'm not here to tell you your purpose. I'm not here to tell you your life. I'm not here to give you life advice. I'm here to share my story and share my journey, and see who can, relate, or maybe help me get further. You know what I mean? Like, that's the only way that we're going to learn and discover who we really are, is when we're brave enough to share who we are discovering we are. And that's a lot of what I want this to do. I want to encourage people to, like, just come out of their shell. Like, I know it's fucking scary. Look, and I know I'm going to probably be demonetized on this channel, because that's something else that I remember wanting to touch on when I was thinking about doing this video. I'm like, once upon a time, YouTube used to be about being raw and real and authentic and just showing up as you are. And, like, it's become just like everything else, like, so commercialized, and like gag me. Like, just be who you are, people. Please, please just be who you are, because the world desperately needs it. So, take it from a YouNicho. The world desperately needs your individuality and your authenticity and who you really are. Like I said, I started off in a very abusive upbringing. I did not know about PTSD till I was 18, but I had all the markers and symptoms pretty much my entire life. And then I heard about it, didn't really understand it, so then I had to start looking into it so that I could understand it. Found some support groups, which things like that I will be sharing, just to try to help people. And there are people of all different levels at this one group that I went to, and on Facebook. And yeah, I'm a poet, deep thinker, feeler. I get lots of epiphany moments. And I think that's tied to being an empath. And I've noticed, through this journey since 2016 of, like, joining these groups and, like, doing my own, like, research, I guess, which my research is different than everybody else's research. Like, I'm an intuitive researcher, and that's how I work best. Like, that's how I retain the information best, because I'll get like this thing that just keeps coming to me and and sticking with me, and I'm like, all right, I gotta look into this, because it won't stop bugging me, So then I'll go do that, and then I'll learn something, and I'll be like, oh, and it's like every time it's like this mind-blowing moment, and that's just kind of how I do it. So, a lot of people will get out there and they'll pass judgment, and they'll tell people, like, they're not doing enough, or they're not. And sometimes, look, guys, I just have a lot of opinions about a lot of things, all right? So, and these are all things that I want to talk about, but I don't want to sit here and go off on too many tangents, which I will if I don't catch myself. So, but yeah, I grew up in it, and then as a teenager, you get out of the situation, you think, okay, life's going to be different now. No. No. It did not get better for me. And I really struggled with my anger and resentment, and, just things that never got a chance to breathe, and that I never had the safety to just feel into and, like, release, I grew up in a home where you really weren't allowed to cry, which is a whole nother obstacle, and will be, like, an entire chapter of its own, I'm sure, on this journey, because I used to not be able to cry without going into a full-blown panic attack. And through my constant striving to heal, I have managed to get to a point where I can actually cry for release, and it doesn't just turn into this crazy anxiety spiral. Um, and that's going against conventional teaching. Like, I was seeing a counselor at the time, and she was like, maybe you're crying all the time because you're telling yourself it's okay to cry. And it's like, you don't understand, lady. Like, I've had like almost 2 decades and more of either abusive lifestyle or still being mentally tormented by that lifestyle. Even when I'm not in the environment, my brain still thinks I'm in that environment. Um, and it just takes time. It takes time. It takes time to figure out who you are, which I feel that not having a sense of self is probably one of my deepest wounds. And that happens just naturally through life, you know, and hopefully you grow up, or you're fortunate to have someone in your life who's like, look, it's most important that you be who you are no matter what. Like, hopefully we all have somebody in that life, and if you don't, I hope I can be that person in your life. And, you know, we're gonna go from there. So, like, I went through all this healing, and like I went through a point in like therapy where they're like, we can't help you anymore, and I was just like falling apart. I was like, what the fuck, you know? And I've been on medication. I've done plant medicines. I try to meditate and do yoga, but I'm not the best at schedules. I'm not as disciplined as I could be with schedules and finding a routine that works and then sticking to it. Like, I can't even find the routine currently. So that's what I'm saying. I'm not here to tell anybody what to do with their life. I'm not here to tell you I have the answers and solutions. I'm not doing that. I'm saying I once was here in this place, this deep, dark place where I never thought I would ever see the light of day, where I just felt I was useless and I was nothing and I would never have anything and I would never be anybody and nobody would ever love me, and like all these other like really, really negative emotions that really held me back in life up to this point. And now I'm at this place where I want to share my story and I want to try to help people move forward. Excuse me. Sometimes when I get in the flow, I get a lot of indigestion. Excuse me. So, and I just want to be raw and uncut, and I don't want to be edited, and I don't want to be airbrushed, and I don't want to be, you know, I don't want to feel like I have to wear makeup to be accepted by people because I have something to offer that's valuable. Like, if I have to sell myself to tell you invaluable information, like, you're not the person that needs to be here hearing this, you know? So, but yeah, I've gone through all this, and I've come a long way. I still, like I said, I feel like I have a long way to go still. Like, sometimes I feel like I haven't gotten far enough, and sometimes I forget to look back at the progress that I have made. Like I said, like, there used to be a time I couldn't cry. There used to be a time where I'd cry all the time, nonstop, couldn't stop. There was a time where I couldn't get out of bed. There's still times where I struggle with a lot of things. Like, I'm not trying to say that it's automatically going to be perfect or magical if you know, take the time to get to know yourself and heal your wounds, and be gentle with yourself and be kind with yourself. And that's all stuff I'm going to talk about also, because they would always tell me this shit in therapy, but nobody would ever break it down for me. Growing up in a home where there was a lot of, just a lot of hostility, right? Okay. And none of the therapists were teaching me, okay, this is how you be kind to yourself. This is how you know, catch this thought that keeps playing over and over. That's not really even your thought, but it's just what's been drilled into your brain. So it's like on a loop. Like, they, like, you know what I mean? I didn't feel like I was being helped in that way. And when I found my own ways to try to work through it and stuff, I thought, you know, maybe someday I'll share. I know that I've always been meant to help other people, and I hope that this is helpful, and that's the whole point behind it. And like I said, I have a lot to share. I've included a poem in the description that really matches how I felt today. I wrote it in 2018. I also shared a link to my Facebook page where I do share my poetry that is poorly read and very tangent-y, but it's who I am, and I'm here to embrace who I am at all costs and to encourage others to do the same. And like I said, I'm excited to be here, and I'm anxious to see what happens. I'm a little bit nervous, but that's okay, because, you know, I feel like the universe has my back, so it's all going to be good. Most people in my life don't know all these things about me that I'm about to share with you guys, so we about to be on a journey together, for real. So, yeah, I'm anxious to see where this goes, and I hope that I'm following the right cues that I feel my internal guidance system is giving me, and be you, follow your passion, and speak your truth.